So in the elimination model, after that we studied about the light sources. So we had two different sources. One was the point source, and the other one was the light from the different, so the light from the distance sources. So these two light sources we studied. So after that we calculated something called um, radial attenuation value, which was given by f rat with 1.0 and the formula so this is 1 of a naught plus a1 dl plus a2 d square, where the factor which was responsible for contributing was one factor called 1 by d1 square. So this factor was responsible. The distance factor was taken into consideration when we are calculating the radial intensity attenuation. Then for this distance from light sources, we added two features. We added one vector and theta. So only those things which were within this direction was able to see the object. So for that we derived one value like v object into v light is equal to cos alpha, and then the cos alpha should be greater than cos theta for the object to be visible. So these derivations we just made in the last class. Now we are talking about the angular intensity attenuation. So what is this angular intensity attenuation? So angular intensity attenuation means the light source is modified to produce a directional beam of light. So angular intensity attenuation will be obtained when the light source is modified to produce a directional beam of light. So in that case, you'll get this. So now what you will do in this angular intensity attenuation. So here. Uh, how you are going to attenuate the light intensity means by uh, you will attenuate this light intensity from the source of the light as well as the direction, as well as the radially the outward direction from that source point. So what it will do means it will allow you to simulate a cone of light, where the light is most intense along the axis. So along the axis of the cone, the light will be more intense, and as it moves farther away, the intensity will keep on decreasing. So this is the concept which we are using to define or calculate this angular intensity attenuation. So for the directional light source, we will attenuate the light intensity angularly above the source, as well as the direction, as well as the radial outward direction from that point. So uh, here, 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 the intensity will be higher along the axis of the cone, and as you move away from the axis of the cone, the intensity will get reduced. So the formula is given by f angular attenuation, which is equal to cos alpha. This, if it is not visible, it is like cos phi to the exponent factor a1. So cos phi to the exponent factor, where the value of this angle is between 0 to theta, between 0 to theta. So what is this theta means? You can check from here. This is the theta value, the theta value. So the value of theta is between, the value of the phi is between 0 to theta. So here what is A1 means? A1 is the attenuation exponent. So here A is the attenuation exponent, which will have some positive value, and this phi is measured from the cone axis. This phi is measured from the cone axis. What is this phi means? It is an this A1 is an attenuation exponent which is having some positive value, and this phi is the angle which is measured from the cone axis. So along the axis, phi will be 0. So phi will be 0 means you know that cos phi is 1. So you'll get the maximum value. So along the axis, this phi value will be 0. So why 0? Because the phi is measured from the cone axis. So along the axis means the phi will be 0. So when the phi is 0, cos 0 will be 1. So that's why when the phi is 0 means this value will be, when phi is 0 means this angular attenuation will be 1. And see, and also so this is regarding the value phi, and also the greater the value for the attenuation component A1. So greater the value for this attenuation component A1. So as A1 keeps on getting the greater value, the smaller the value for this angular intensity function. Greater the value for this component A1, the smaller the value of this angular intensity attenuation for the function where the angle of phi will be greater than 0, where the angle of phi will be greater than 0. So these things you should keep in mind. Greater the value of this exponent component A1, the smaller the value of angular intensity. So these are the cases. You should consider. And also see this case. If the value of phi is if the value of alpha is less than theta, then this attenuation will be 0 because the object is not visible. So otherwise you can simplify this cos phi with, say, since even this cos phi is also dependent on theta, so you can replace this cos phi with the formula which we had studied in the previous class. V object into V light, V object into V light power the exponent factor, like this. Why? Because uh, see, one case we considered is, um, see, some of the cases you can consider in this angular attenuation is like so. If the light is not directional, you will not have the angular intensity attenuation, and also the object will not be so. If the object will not be if it is outside the range of that cone, if it is outside that angular region, means the object will not be uh, illuminated. And also, if you want to determine the attenuation factor along the line from the light position to the surface position, so you can compute it by using the cos value. You can compute it by using the cos value of the cone using the equations like v object dot v object dot v light. So v light means unit vector along the light direction, and v object means unit vector in the direction from the light to the object, the same thing. So using these two vectors also, and if the angle is between 0 to 90 degree, the same derivations which we have studied now. So using those statements itself, we are able to get these three cases. So not a spotlight, the phi will be 0, so angle this will be 1. And if the cos alpha is less, obviously the object is not visible. Since the object is not visible, the angular intensity attenuation will be 0. In the other cases, this attenuation value is by, you can obtain it by the cross product of object into light vector power the component value, the exponent value, which is the attenuation exponent. So like this you can obtain the angular intensity attenuation. So the next what is the next kind of light source? So we have one last light source which we will call it as the extended light source and the Born model. So what is this extended light source means? So this light source means, here the light source will be placed very close to the object, very close to the object. So these kind of sources we can call it as extended light sources. So where you want to include a light source at a position very close to the object in a screen. So, so how can you do this? How can you do this, or how can you include this kind of scenario? Means one thing is, um, you can use the light surfaces as a you can use this light surface. You can use this light surface um, as a grid of point emitter. So you can treat this light emitter. See, when we will use this extended light resources means in a scenario where you want to place the light source very close to the object. You want to place this light source very close to the object. So in such cases, so in case like the examples can be like the study table. The study table, when you're studying, you will be using the study light, where it will be focusing on the notes like that. So here in this model, how this model is set up, or how this model is set up, means the light surface. This is a light surface where it's a point of light emission. So what it will do means it is treated as a grid of it is treated as a grid of it is treated as a grid of point emitters. So then you can set the direction for the point sources so that the objects behind the light emitting surface are not illuminated. So this is the model that we are following. So we are treating the light surface as a grid of directional point emitters. By doing this, we can set the direction for the point sources so that the objects behind this light emitting surfaces are not illuminated. And also, you can also restrict the direction of emitted light near the edges of the sources. So all these things are provided by the Vaughan model. So the Vaughan model provides this method for producing the light effects using a set of point emitters with some parameters to um, to simulate uh, the effects to simulate or to illuminate only those objects that are needed, and the objects behind that are not illuminated. So these all the setups are used by the photographers. All these setups will be used by the uh, photographers, like they will be using the flaps. They will be using the flaps to restrict the path of emitted light rays. So the all the setups you can check. So the photographers will be using like two kinds of umbrellas when they want to some setup will be there for some instruments they'll be using to capture uh, an image of a person. So all these things. So this is the model that is being followed by the photographers. So this is regarding the light sources. This is regarding the light sources. We have illumination model. So we have illumination model. Um, so so what we are going to study under this basic illumination model means we are studying about the ambient light. So what is this ambient light means? First thing is uh, we will see what is this ambient light. So ambient light means we can incorporate the background lightings by setting the brightness for a scene. By setting a brightness for a scene, you can incorporate the background lighting. So what it will do means it will produce uniform lighting which is same for all the objects, and it will approximate the global diffuse reflection. See, global diffuse reflection means a reflection from an object. So it will produce the global diffuse reflection from the various surfaces. So if you're using only a monochromatic light settings, then what we will do means we will designate the each ambient light. We will designate the each ambient light in a scene with some intensity parameter. We'll give some intensity parameter for each ambient light in a scene. Then each surface in the scene will then illuminated with the background light. So reflection produced by this light illumination are it's a form of diffuse reflection, and they are independent of the viewing direction and the spatial orientation of the surface. But one difference is the amount of incident light which is reflected depends on the surface optical properties, which will determine how much of the incident energy is reflected and how much energy is refracted. So, so what is this? So this is regarding the ambient light. So this is regarding the ambient light. So you can see the image. You can see the image. There's some there. We're passing some light. So if the light is incident on that, some part of that will be absorbed and some part of that will be reflected. So this is mm, regarding the ambient light. So what it will do means this ambient light will produce the lighting which is same for all the objects, and it will calculate the diffuse reflection from those illuminated surfaces. So, but one difference is the amount of light that is reflected depends on the surface properties, like how much of the rays will be reflected, how much of the rays will be observed. So like that the parameters will decide uh, these characteristics. So when we talk about this diffuse reflection, uh, there is a light, there is a light which is being uh, illuminated, or which is being falling, which is the light is falling on the surface, will be scattered. A part of light is falling on the surface. The light which is fallen on the surface is scattered with equal intensity in all the directions. In some part of the a light is falling on the surface. So whatever light is falling on the surface, so that the fallen light is getting scattered in equal intensity in all the directions. So these kind of surfaces, we will call it as the diffuse reflector. So these kind of surfaces we'll call it as the ideal diffuse reflectors, and also they are known as Lambertian reflectors, because whatever whatever light is uh, falling on that, so all the lights are getting uh, reflected. So these kind of surfaces we will call it as the ideal diffuse reflectors, which is also known as the Lambertian reflectors. So why? Because the reflected light energy, the energy which is reflecting from the surface is calculated with the Lambertian cos law. So what this law will tell means, so we will call this, for here some part of the light is falling and the light is getting reflected in all the directions. So that is determined. So that is these kind of surfaces we'll call it as ideal diffuse reflector, or Lambert Lambertian reflector. So, why we will call this as Lambertian reflector? Because we will use the Lambertian law. We will use this Lambertian cos law to find out the energy that is being uh, emitted. The energy that is being emitted. So, what this law will tell means the amount of a radiant energy coming from this surface. So this you take it as this. So this is a surface. So this is a surface. So the amount of radiant energy coming from this surface in a direction, in this direction. So this is the surface. So this is the surface. The amount of energy coming from the surface. So this surface we are calling it as dA, in the direction given by phi of n is the vector um, relative to the normal. So relative to the normal means, you can see this, relative to the surface normal is proportional to cos phi n. So what this law is telling means, the amount of energy coming from the small surface dA in a direction phi n relative to the normal is proportional to cos of this angle. So the amount of energy coming from the small surface dA with respect to the direction in a direction of this angle phi n with respect to the normal is equal to cos of this angle. So that is proportional to cos of this angle. So that is what this Lambertian cos law states that. So now even you can calculate the intensity of the light. The intensity of the light in this direction is given as the radiant energy per unit time divided by the projected area. So the intensity can be calculated with the definition as radiant energy per unit time by projected area. So the intensity of that light in this direction can be computed as the ratio of radiant energy per unit time divided by the projected area of the surface in the radiant direction. So which is nothing but which is nothing but so radiant energy per unit time is nothing but cos cos phi n divided by projected area. Area is given by dA into that cos phi n, so which will be some constant value. So if you assume that every surface is to be treated as an ideal diffuse reflector, then we can set the parameters for each of the surfaces that will determine the fraction of the incident line that is to be scattered. So this parameter we will call it as the diffuse reflection coefficient or diffuse reflexivity. So uh, the diffuse reflexivity uh, can be calculated. So how it can be calculated? If you're assuming that each surface is to be treated as an ideal diffuse reflector, then we can set the parameter called KD. You can set the parameter KD for each of the surfaces, which will determine the fraction of incident light that is to be treated as um, diffuse reflection. So this diffuse reflection coefficient, no, we have to calculate that. So so how we can calculate means that is given by the formula I ambient is equal to KD into IA. So this is a formula. So using this thing, you can calculate. So the ambient contribution to the diffuse reflector at any point on the surface is given by I ambient diffuse reflector is equal to KD dot IA. So what it is telling means, so what this will tell means, see what this equation will tell means, see here there is a surface. See here in the image one, there is a, here in this image one, we have, here in the image one, we have, in the image one, we have, we have an object. So here all the objects here, all the light intensity is falling equally on all the objects, but in the image 2 this is at some particular angle. So here the light intensity is not normal. So some part of the object is getting more light and some part is getting less light because of some angular thing, and the reflection will not be equal also. So a surface which is normal, say surface which is like it is perpendicular to the direction of the incident light will get more illumination when compared to the object which is at a particular angle with respect to the direction of the incoming light. So this is so this tells that when the object is perpendicular to that, the object will get more illuminated when compared to the object which is not in the direction of the light, like it is at a particular angle with respect to the direction of the light. So so this kind of scenario, so you can model this kind of scenario the amount of incident light, the amount of light which is incident on the surface from a source uh, given by given by given by the formulas like you can modulate like what is the amount of incident light by using the formulas like I incident is equal to I1 into cos of that angle. So you can model the amount of incident light on this surface where I1 is the intensity of the light, where I1 is the intensity of the light, and I incident is the um, amount of incident light on the surface. So from this you can model the diffuse reflection from the light source by using the formula I diffuse is equal to, we have studied one formula, right? KD into IA. So here KD into IA instead of IA. So KD into not IA, we should use this incident light which we have calculated. It is I incident. So it is I incident. So this I incident can be, what is this I incident means? The light intensity into cos theta. KD into light incident into cos theta. So on simplifying, so um, this will give us the diffuse reflection. So for example, so there is this is a surface. So this is a surface. You can denote the vector n as the unit normal vector, and the direction to this vector and the direction of this vector to a point source as L, and this is the angle between them. So at any surface position, you can denote the unit normal vector as n and the unit direction vector to that point source as L. So in that case, the diffuse reflection for this point source at the surface position can be expressed as I diffuse. I diffuse is equal to I diffuse is equal to KD into KD into II. Instead of this cos theta, find the dot product of those vectors n dot L. If if the dot product is greater than 0, else if the dot product is less than 0 means I diffuse will be 0. So like this, and also um, the unit direction vector L to the nearby point source can be calculated using the surface position and the light source position. So the unit vector to the nearby point source can be calculated using the surface position and the light source position, which is given by L is equal to uh, P source, which is nothing but the light source position minus the surface position divided by the modulus of P source minus P surface. So you can use this formula to calculate this L value. So then you can combine this ambient and point source intensity calculation to obtain the expression for the total diffuse reflection at the surface position. So, so finally, I diffuse can be calculated with this Ka Ia plus, just write it. I'll write it here. So I diffuse is equal to, so you can calculate see you can calculate or you can it's like you can combine the equations which we have studied now to obtain the expression for the total diffuse reflection at the surface position by giving this equation Ka into Ia plus Kd intensity of the light into vector if it is greater than 0, and only this Ka into Ia if NL is less than 0. So here, using this parameter Ka, you can use the total diffuse reflection equation for a single point source like this, where the value of this Ka and Ia depends on the material properties, and their values will be in the range of 0 to 1. So using this, you can calculate the diffuse reflection or the I diffuse. So this is regarding the diffuse reflection. So what we did, we started with the Lambertian cause law. From that, we calculated the intensity, which is given by the radiation emitted per unit time divided by the projection area. So which was nothing but the cos phi n by the surface into that angle. So after this, we calculated this I diffuse I ambient and diffuse is equal to kd into Ia, where we also know that when when it is falling on the surface, the intensity of the light can be calculated by the intensity value and the angle between them. Then we further simplified in terms of the vectors to get those equations, and finally we got this I diffuse value. So this is for the um, diffuse reflection. So we have one more reflection, which we will call it as a specular reflection, and the Phong model. So here what we are doing means, there is a surface, and we have some vectors. Vector L, vector N. The angle between them is theta. We have vector R, the angle between them, and vector V, and angle between them. So, so this um, see here, here we are talking about the specular reflection. We are talking about the specular reflection, or we'll call it as the Phong model. So specular reflection and the Phong model. So here, the specular reflection, which we will be seeing on the shiny surface, it's a result of total reflection of the light around that angle, specular reflection angle. So the specular reflection that we will be seeing on the shiny surface is a result of the total reflection of the light. So whatever light is being incident, so that entire light is getting reflected around that bright spot. So that's why that region will be seen as very bright. So this image shows a specular reflection for a particular position on the surface. This diagram gives you the specular reflection. So what is specular reflection means? So whatever light is incident on that entire light is getting reflected from that surface. So here, this angle you can call it as the specular reflection angle. So here we are using four vectors, n, l, or L, N, or B. So what is L means? L is the unit vector directed towards the point source. So L is the unit vector directed towards the point source. The next one is N. N is the normal surface vector. R is the vector. R is the vector in the direction of ideal specular reflection, and V is the vector pointing towards the viewer. So V is the vector pointing towards the viewer from the selected surface position. Um, so angle phi is the angle relative to the specular reflection direction. So all these things. So next, in the next class, so this is just an introduction to this specular reflection model. So in the next class, we'll talk about the form. We'll talk about how this model works. Along with that, what is the like in the previous example, we calculate eye diffuse light. Here we'll be calculating eye specular reflection. We'll calculate eye specular reflection, and similarly we'll define the values with respect to phi only, with respect to phi, that cause of phi, and we will see that. So after that, so this is so this part will be like this class I'll just give the introduction. So it consists of four vectors, L, N, R, V. What is specular reflection means? Whatever light is getting incident on that surface, that entire light is getting reflected. So what we need to do means we need to calculate eye specular reflection for this surface. So which I'll calculate in the next class. So it will take 10 to 15 minutes of time for that. So after that we'll talk about the illumination functions and color models based on this. Okay, I'll just stop the class now. So in the next class we'll talk about this specular reflection. Any doubts?